stitch into that somehow, Alex, the ongoing accusation that not only you might be controlled opposition or I'm controlled opposition, that even a figure like Elon Musk, due to his various billion-dollar contracts through SpaceX or Tesla or whatever it is, can't truly be the renegade that many of us believe him to be.
He's devastating them every day with hundreds of millions of views, with transgenderism and open borders and world government and carbon taxes and depopulation and replacement migration. And you can't argue with energy to energy. It's a mathematical equation. He's literally devastating them. And I'm supposed to sit back and go, I'm a Pharisee to Christ. You know what? You're not perfect. You're going to hell. I'm literally supposed to sit back and watch devastation of the enemy. Like they are shitting their pants and go, I could have done it better. Great, get on the field. Show us what you'll do. Stop bitching. Show me what you can do instead of claiming everything is controlled. You say I'm with the devil? No. Those of you saying there is no hope, those of you saying Christ isn't real, those of you saying God didn't call us to victory, those of you saying that we're given a spirit of overcoming and victory, not of weakness. When the enemy comes like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord lifts up a standard against it. You are the Satanists. I love Jesus Christ. I want human victory throughout the stars. And any of you saying that I serve Satan are servants of Satan, and I rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ.
That's fantastic. Let me tell you something. And what's funny is that Russell Brand, like just in the last couple of years, he's gone from like kind of mainstream podcasting, you know, maybe a little edgy Joe Rogan-ish. Russell Brand's like, he's about to become Catholic. Okay. He's definitely going to come into the Catholic Church. He's gotten baptized. So we got that. And then he has on Alex Jones, which is like I said, and then Alex Jones going off like that. I don't know who made that. Did Alex Jones make that video?
Yeah, that's Alex Jones's. But I love how Russell Brand just was getting a kick out of it. He was just sitting there like laughing, like just
well,
like.
How do you not? Well, let's take it apart a little bit. Thanks for joining us here at the front line with Joe and Joe. Joe Pasillo, Joe Rossinello. Let's go away in the breach as we always do Thursday nights, 9 o'clock Eastern time across social media. Please, as I said, across. That means that you're obligated if you're watching. You got to click a share button, a like, and a subscribe. We don't ask you for money, but if you can help us out with that, that would be awesome. We want to grow our audience as it has been, thanks to you. But please keep helping us out. Let's break it down a little bit. What's Alex Jones saying that was crazy? Let's start with Elon Musk. Elon Musk is what you call a weed up the ass of the left. Pardon my language, Joe. That's what he is. Everything he does. Do you know that they were saying that, just again, Joe, you know, I follow the market a lot, okay? Nearly on a daily basis. Do you know that just about a month ago, Tesla's stock was about cut in half from its high? Its high was about 300. Recently went down to about 150. Do you know in about okay? And you know they're keeping it moving. Can you hear me okay, Joe? Is the connection okay?
I can.
Okay. Yeah, it seems to be a little bit spotty, but we'll get through it. The devil's not going to get us. He's not going to get us. But Elon Musk on the Tesla front just constantly frustrates them because they want nothing more than for him to stop being the world's richest man. And as Tesla stock goes higher, he is the world's richest man. They want every spaceship he launches to crash into the earth. And they, of course, his biggest sin is he decided he was going to buy Twitter from the mutant, Jack Dorsey, and as you like to call him, and buy it for $55 billion, a property that's worth about $44 billion, the value of which went down initially, all right, and now is starting to really pick up, and most people get their news right now every day from X, okay?
Well, it is a source.
The word devastation is not hyperbole on the part of Alex Jones. It is an appropriate word. He is devastating those people who hate him.
Well, let's put it this way. That's why CNN is going out of business. And I'll be truthful with you. They're not going to be the last. Cable news is dead. It's dead. And to your point, That's where people get their news.
Can
There
I
are
give you real quick, because I know you'll appreciate this. I know you'll appreciate this. Do you know why cable? You know why CNN and the rest of them are going to go down in flames? You mentioned it in that clip with Alex Jones. Did you see Russell Brand? He
it's
was
cracking.
laughing. He was smiling. Does Joy Reid ever smile? Okay. Does Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, do they ever smile? Does that fat black guy with the white hair that goes up like this, that looks like he got electrocuted, Ely Missel or something like that, I think he's on MSNBC. Do they ever smile? They're angry people. The problem is they've rigged elections. And that means that they actually can win elections because look, Joe, they can't get people to watch CNN. How are they going to get people to vote for them? So that's always leads the thing in my mind. They're angry. They're bitter. Guys like us, I get down and I get angry. We all know that. You do too sometimes. But for the most part, we're happy people.
No,
Okay?
I get it. Well, they're owned because of the advertising, and that's why it's not pure. I mean, to be truthful with you, and many people who are on social media, there's many of them. There's many very, very good voices. Dave Smith, Tucker
I like Dave
Carlson.
Smith.
Dave Smith's very good. Glenn Greenwald. They have, to be honest with you, they're not swayed because they're not owned, and they don't have an agenda. And there's a lot of voices. And I'll tell you something, as much as social media and the internet and the web and iPhones have brought a lot of trouble into society, we, for the first time, this has been going on for decades, that people just didn't know. I'll be truthful with you. In the last 4 years, my eyes are open. My eyes, I don't watch any of it. None of it. Zero. I don't watch Fox. I don't watch CNN. I don't watch MSNBC.
I watched Fox during the assassination attempt just to stay like kind of up to the minute. Outside of that, I agree with you.
I get all my information from specific people, experts in certain things. Like I get my Ukrainian news from Glenn Greenwald. He's an expat. He's a lawyer. He went to NYU Law School. He's very smart and he's not biased.
And he's
he
going to tell you
lives
the
in
truth.
Brazil. And frankly, that's where I get that. And I have specific people that when I want to find out something, I go to them and listen. And
Right.
frankly, that's how you get educated. You get, because they're not swayed by
But the thing is,
advertising.
that's why they hate Elon Musk so much, because he's given all the people you just mentioned. Hey, he gives us a platform in our own small way, and we're growing, thank God. But Russell Brand, Alex had a poll that says bring Alex. Had a poll that says bring Alex. So they brought Alex Jones back. Michael Jones, who we've had on our show. All right. Of course, the world says he's an anti-Semite, blah, 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 whatever. All right. He's back on X. Okay. Nick Fuentes is back on X. Now, not because Elon Musk agrees with them, right? I would venture to say he probably doesn't. I would venture to say Elon Musk disagrees with us probably on about 6 or 7 out of 10 things. But he gives us a platform.
But that's okay. That's what America's about.
Not now. Not now. You're right. That's what. Or let me. I never correct you, Joe, but I will this time. That's what America's supposed to be about, but it's not.
No,
it's not.
I know that's
because
true.
you have. I'm going to show you something in a little bit just to prove, and we've seen clips like this before, where the media, when they latch onto something, everybody repeats the same thing. Okay, that's when you know they're bought and paid for. How is it that 10, 20 different, 30 different organizations and news outlets all could say the same thing?
Well, they can't.
And almost the exact same words. How is that? Because you're getting fed. See, nobody's feeding us lines. Nobody's feeding Glenn Greenwald lines. Nobody's feeding Alex Jones and Russell Brand and Dave Smith and Joe Rogan. Nobody's feeding them Tucker Carlson. Nobody's feeding them lines. Okay? The left, they're just here. They're all actors and actresses. We talked about it before. Just give me my lines, and I'll spout it out there. Whether it's Donald Trump's a threat to democracy, or you know the drill. You know the drill.
Well, they're
Joe.
propagandists. That's what it is. They're propagandists for the establishment because they're all fed from the same trough. They're all fed from the same trough. The media through their commercials and the politicians through their donations. It's the same person that runs the country. And frankly, that is what listen, I'm not going to convince people to vote for Donald Trump. What I do want to do is educate people and open their eyes to the reality of what's going on in this country. If you ask me, this election is about an establishment candidate versus a non-establishment candidate. It's about the oligarchy versus the person. It's not about Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. It really isn't. Kamala Harris could be replaced with Nikki Haley. You'd get the same thing.
Oh yeah,
They're the same person.
listen, put an R in front of her name. I have that, Joe. I take no comfort if Nikki Haley. I'm going to
No,
feel the same after election, after the day after the election. If Nikki Haley's elected,
that's
or
right.
Kamala Harris.
It's the same person. And the only reason people have been given Trump, the business saying that she's a DEI candidate. To be truthful with you, she's actually a candidate because she's trying to appeal to a voting demographic. That's just obvious. But Joe Biden said it straight out of his own mouth that my VP will be an African-American woman.
Right.
He said it. He said it out of his own mouth. But also, Kamala Harris, the main reason why she was picked is because she can be controlled, just like Nikki Haley is controlled. It's the same person. And that's why people have to see through this. They want us divided. You want to get the country back? You have to see through the fog. Because I got news for you. If the country does not return as in power back to people, there's no issue that matters. Nothing. Debate doesn't matter. The Constitution doesn't matter. Nothing. They're moving full steam ahead. They're moving full steam ahead. But people have to see this. They actually still think the system is real. They actually still think that Kamala Harris is for you. Kamala Harris is for an ideology. She's no different than Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau didn't represent the Canadian people. He represented an ideology, and all he did was distract, gaslight, and basically just confuse people. And at the end of the day, some people still believe it. They actually believe it, and that's what I'm trying to remedy, actually.
But he does his job well. Joe,
of course. Agreed.
He does his. Listen, all of them are playing a role, and I'll say it again. Everybody who I just mentioned, from Alex Jones to us and everybody in between, we're not reading lines. AOC's reading lines. Justin Trudeau's reading lines. Kamala Harris is reading. You think it's you, Joe? Come on, please, Joe. Do you think for a second that the very first time that I saw, Kamala Harris get hit with a tough question? This was back before the election where she was installed as vice president. And somebody asked her a tough question and she went, and she cackled. Nobody looked at that and said, she just took a page out of Hillary Clinton's playbook. Because every time you ask Hillary Clinton a question, you know what she did? She cackled like that. It's a means by which you dismiss it. I'll give Lester Holt credit. Lester Holt, in that clip that goes around all over social media, where he said, "Did you go to did you go to the border?" Oh no, we went. He goes, "You didn't go to the border." All right, and she goes, "Well, I went to Europe," and she cackles. She doesn't have a thought in her head. They tell her, if you get hit with a tough question, do what Hillary did, which is cackle. Here's the thing: I hope she does what Hillary did and loses. Like, that's what I hope.
I'll be honest with you. I've been reading a lot since she's been named as the candidate. Dude, we have to take her serious, because what you're seeing right now in the media is this. First of all, Google is scrubbing everything. Everything. Here's another thing Google's doing. All the searches for information are not as in-depth, if you want to get stuff from Trump, as they are from Harris. That's not conspiracy. Do some research and validate what I just said, because that's absolute truth. I listened to a mathematician from Harvard talk about that. So, and he's not a politician. He's not a journalist. That is reality.
And you know what I'm about to say. And you know what I'm about to say. And the Republicans are going to allow them to get away with it.
But the Republicans are part of the problem too.
But then they're going to lose.
No, I wouldn't say, because here's the thing. What I'm interested in seeing is this couple things. A little while ago, and I have listened to the clips, the media was saying she was a horrible VP. Mm-hmm. The media. Now, all of a sudden, she's great. What you're about to watch, and pay attention to what I'm saying. And I'm saying to the listeners, pay attention to this. What you're about to watch is going to be one of the most amazing messaging system, like like processes ever, because
Of
you're going to
all
try to,
time.
of all time. And if they succeed in that, kudos to them. It shows you just how powerful the press is. What they're also trying to do is not say she had anything to do with the border. The borders are. That's another statement that's getting denied. There's so much evidence on the web. Try to find it right now. I've
Right.
listened to it
You
on
could find
different
it. You know where
shows.
you could find it? You could find it on X, and
Well,
you could find
that's
it on
right. But
Rumble.
outside of that, but if you try to Google it, you're not going to. And that is absolutely, positively the propagandist strategy. They're trying to turn a frog into a princess. And if they do that, that should show people just how powerful the media is.
I'm going to correct you on one thing. They're trying to show. They're trying to turn a frog. I'm just going to add one word. They're trying to turn a cackling frog into a princess. Let's say hello to some people. Joe, we got a couple of new people. We got Afro in there. Afro 5. Antonella, friend. Hi, Antonella. Rob Brackett. Caro Bene, Joe. How do you like that name?
Nice.
I got that one right. Hey, Robert. Good to see you. I haven't seen Robert before, but we welcome him, of course. Sylvain's here. I got to make a point about what Sylvain said. Earmuff hugger. Gotta love earmuff hugger. Leaf cat. Sylvain, real quick, Joe. I just want to throw this out there because he happened to mention. Did you see this young woman? Because we were going to play a clip from the Olympics, but there's copyright issues, so we're going to leave it alone. But did you see the clip of the young woman got beat up by a man in the Olympics, Joe? Did you see it?
I saw some like stuff on my feed. It's horrible.
Joe, it was disgusting. You got to see this girl crying, and she says, "I've never been hit that hard in my life." These people, Joe, listen, I hope they realize unless they repent, they're, and for doing the things they do, they're allowing basically women, especially in violent sports like boxing, they're allowing women to get beaten up. Riley Gaines was saying something about it on X. She's all over X saying, I mean, there's a lot of people out there saying it. Here's the bottom line is, Joe, now I think it was J.K. Rowling or somebody on X basically said the only thing that's going to open people's eyes, and I don't know if I even believe this, but I'll throw it out there, is when a woman is fatally injured playing against a man. And even then, I don't even think they would change. What do you say?
Well, to me, it's obvious. I mean, again, it's but sin blinds people. The obvious is not obvious. I mean, to me, that's just basic. You don't even have to be able to read to understand that a woman shouldn't box against a man. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, Joe, you know as well as I do, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing with all this gender ideology and everything else. Listen, we grew up having to deal with feminists. Well, they turned around. I don't know how anybody who calls himself a feminist can be. I mean, J.K. Rowling's a feminist, but she's not in favor of this stuff. That's why she's on their hate list. Evidently, Kamala Harris is a feminist, but she's okay with a man punching a girl in the face in a boxing ring. And by the way, she was an Italian boxer, this girl. The one, and she's crying. She was crying in the press conference. She was crying as she left the ring. It's really, really not fair. It's not fair at all. But let's do this. I want to show this, and well, I'll let Trump do the talking.
Olympics.
I thought that the opening ceremony was a disgrace, actually. I thought it was a disgrace.
The mocking of the Last Supper.
I thought it was
Catholics and Christians across
the
globe are outraged.
I mean, they can do certain things. I thought it was terrible.
Can you say at the next Olympics, if you're present, you'll have enough influence on the organizers that we won't be, insulting Christians?
We won't be having a Last Supper as portrayed the way they portrayed it the other night. I just think, look, I'm for everybody. I'm very open-minded. You understand.
Yeah.
You know me better than most people know me. I'm very open-minded. But I thought what they did was a disgrace.
See, he's saying it like it is, because that's what it was.
But the point of that is not enough people said that. Like, I don't watch. I publicly I made a statement on my social media. Like, to me, it's a non-event. I don't watch the Olympics. When people do that, you're done. And I'm not going back either. And that's what people have to do. Because if people did that, they wouldn't do it. And that's the truth.
No, you're right.
Also, I want to say this. the church should have been. I have read certain bishops did say that came out. The bishop, I mean, I'm not going to name names, but that was a disgrace. And you don't have to be an animal. You don't have to be disrespectful. But to be honest with you, that deserved a comment. It simply is this: that was not appropriate. And to be honest with you, you hurt millions of people around the world. It's not just Europe. Christians are all over the world on every continent, and they're all watching the Olympics. It was not called for, and it was not necessary.
Okay, but here's the thing. You make a point about money, and you're right. They want ratings. But at the end of the day, we have to say to ourselves, I don't think these people really are, they're more interested in their agenda. But I'm going to throw this out there. It might sound controversial. Okay, what bothers me more than anything are the double standards. This chick, the one who is sitting square in the middle, self-described, Joe. I'm not calling her this. Self-described. She says, I'm a fat Jew queer, lesbian. That's what she said. All right. Now, what if I wanted to do a display? Go out in public and have somebody film it. And I'm going to do something that desecrates or blasphemes Jewish people. Now, I said, I am a not so fat, straight, male, heterosexual Roman Catholic. And then I proceeded to piss off a lot of Jews. You think that you think that something bad's going to happen to me if that happened? But
Well,
she got away with it.
But that's true. And to be honest, I'll also use the example. I mean, if they did that to Muslims, Paris would have been on fire.
I was going to say
the whole city would. And here's the thing. No, but every religion should take offense to that. That's an offense to every religion. All people of goodwill should be offended. There's just certain things you don't do because they're hateful and they're hurtful. I don't prescribe to the Jewish religion. I don't prescribe to the Muslim religion, but I would never be disrespectful to them because it's not right. I don't have to agree with them to not be respectful. It's disrespectful, and it was not called for, and that's why it warranted someone in the church to say something. And you don't have to be angry. You don't have to be disrespectful in your response, but it merited a response because it wasn't right. It simply wasn't right. And to be honest with you, in life, if you don't address things when somebody is walking all over you, it just continues. Even Jesus addressed something when he was slapped. Why are you slapping me? He addressed the wrong. So this is my point. It should have been addressed. And this is where we don't have our act together. We don't have our act together. I got news for you. Not only should it be addressed, we should publicly state we're boycotting it. You see, this is how you fight. And that is what you have to do. If someone's fighting against you, you don't just allow them to beat you up.
Right.
That's self-defense. You have to. It's not about, you're not being political. You're being attacked.
Right.
And if you're being attacked, you have to fight back. And there's ways to do that with respect, to do that, but be firm. And that's what we don't do. And that's why it continues. And frankly, like I said, my response, I'm just not watching it. I don't listen to it. I don't watch it. I don't know who's doing what. And I don't care.
I
And
wonder
that's
if
the
Donald Trump,
response.
you see,
you
the
ask
thing is,
me.
well, listen, I'm with you on that, brother. But and if you're just joining us here at the front line with Joe and Joe, please, wherever you see us, there's about 50 watching right now live. We've got a bunch of people in the chat room. Please help us out. Like, subscribe, share, particularly on X and Rumble. Help us out. Let's get to spread the message. I wonder, I don't know that he would. Maybe he would. He's kind of brash this way. Maybe if Donald Trump was president, he would have turned around and says, guess what? We're boycotting the Olympics. Let me tell you something. Now, you want something. Now, they don't care if people stop watching. All right. Or they don't think people are organized enough to stop watching. Can you imagine if the president of the United States turned around and said, you just insulted about half the world's population with that display that you want to call part of your DEI inclusivity BS. All right. Guess what? We're boycotting the Olympics. And you know what? Let all the Olympic athletes, okay? Not all of them. Let me take that back. But many of them who are all politically correct, let them stew a little bit too. See, because did any of them, now maybe I'm wrong, did any of them open their mouth? Okay. Did
I don't
anybody
even know
see-
because I haven't.
I don't even
I
know,
didn't
right?
hear. I heard like some response. Robert George, who I follow, he posted a rabbi did say something good for him. I saw a bishop of Allentown, Pennsylvania, say something good for him. Robert Bishop Barron said something good for
Yes.
him.
Yes.
It should have been a unified voice. It's appalling. And here's the thing, it wasn't necessary. It has nothing to do with the Olympics. And here's another thing from a business perspective. You don't piss off people who are going to watch something. You want ratings. Like whoever's in charge. Like to me, it boggles my mind from a business perspective. What are you thinking? These are your clients. These are people who you're counting on that are going to watch, which are going to give you ratings, which is going to give you advertising dollars. Why would you do that? It's like the Academy Awards. No one watches it because no one wants to hear it. It's ridiculous. Not only is it insulting and rude, but it's also from a business perspective, a bad choice. Like whoever made that choice, just like the Bud Light lady, should be fired because it was stupid.
Right.
Stupid.
Well,
But this is, again, sin makes you stupid. It blinds you. The obvious is not obvious because to me, I didn't go to Harvard, get an MBA from Harvard, but I know that that's a bad business decision and that was stupid
does
and
it ever,
unnecessary.
I mean, but does it strike you that maybe, you know, obviously I think in my mind all the time, they're not worried about money. The people that run the Olympics, remember something, Joe, George Soros is the lightning rod, and he's obviously got billions of dollars, okay, that he could spread around. Joe, it's the people behind him. You know what they have? They have trillions of dollars, okay? And they'll spread it wherever they want. They'll say, you get out there at the Olympics and you blaspheme the Last Supper. You attack those Catholics. You attack those Christians. You put a 666 on the Olympic flag, and we don't give a crap. You go ahead and do it. Don't worry about the money. We got plenty of that. You'll all be compensated for your good work. That's what happens. But the thing is, again, you have and I'm going to play you something. You have a complicit media, okay? They just go along with everything. They don't have an original thought in their head. They're handed a script. They just keep going with the script. Here, I'll prove it to you.
Are saying, well, it's just plain weird.
These guys are just weird. That's where they are.
As weird and creepy as J.D. Vance.
A super weird idea from J.D. Vance.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's quite weird. They're just plain weird.
Just plain weird.
Just plain weird.
That stuff is weird. They come across weird, and then they start being weird. Yeah, they're weird.
Being a really weird.
He's such a weirdo.
Donald Trump and his weirdo running mate, they're weird. Deeply and profoundly weird.
They are weird.
These Republicans just being weird, it's just weird. It's really weird.
Republican weirdness goes even deeper.
He said a lot of things that are weird, a weird style that he brings, weird policies. Let's start with the weird thing, because it is a thing.
Just plain weird.
What was weird was talking about Diet Mountain Dew. Who drinks Diet Mountain Dew?
You ever seen the guy laugh? That seems very weird to me that an adult can go through 6.5 years of being in the public eye. If he has laughed, it's at someone, not with someone. That is weird.
What it is post the assassination attempt, they're having to dial down. Trump is dangerous and demonic. He's going to be Hitler when he gets into power, though they're still doing a bit of that. What did he say to that Christian audience? He's going to make himself dictator for life. He admits as much. I think he was joking. No. Since the assassination attempt and the subsequent apologies, they've had to go, we have to dial down the demonization of Donald Trump, but we're going to dial up getting him off Google searches, and we're going to dial up saying he's weird.
Now, there's Russell Brand just making a whole lot of sense, as Russell Brand is apt to do. Exactly right, by the way, because again, even they know. See, a guy who's running for president, Joe, even moderate Democrats, okay, when they see a bullet whiz past the guy's ear, and his ear, and he's bleeding from his ear, and he gets up and he says, fight. And then all the subsequent, what they're going to dismiss as conspiracy theory, a guy on the roof, you could see him clearly on a person's picture, that video that a person took on their cell phone. That same person, I believe, was one of the people that got shot twice and is devastatingly injured. They can't keep calling him a dictator. Even they, I know how funny this sounds, drew a line. So what do? You tell me who's more weird. What about that one guy? I'm going to throw this. He turns around and says, "Do you ever see him laugh? Do you ever see him laugh?" You have Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris that cackle like a couple of people that if I was related to them, I'd slap them in the face and say, "Don't ever do that again in public. Don't ever, ever do that again in public. Don't cackle like that because it just makes people hate you." And J.D. Vance is weird. Now, J.D. Vance and Donald Trump both have done things recently and said things and taken positions I don't like. Weird's not one of them. Weird's not one of them.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'll tell you what weird is. A guy with a beard wearing a dress. That's weird. I'm sorry. That doesn't make me a hater, but that's weird. I'll tell you another thing that's weird. A guy who says he's a woman getting in a boxing ring and then beating up a woman. That's kind of weird. And that doesn't make me a hater. That just makes me have eyes. And this is how inverted and twisted our culture is. Frankly, it's terrifying. And what's more terrifying? People just go along with it.
Oh, yeah.
J.D. Vance, here's a guy who came from nothing. Father left the family. Mother is a drug addict. Grandmother raises him. And she didn't have, to be honest with you, she didn't have, everything going on for her either.
Right.
Graduates high school, goes to a state school, serves in the military, serves in a war, and goes to Yale Law School, writes a New York Times best-selling book, starts a business, and is about to be potentially the vice president of the United States before he's 40. And he's weird. Yet a man dressed up as a woman with a beard, that's perfectly normal.
Right.
This is the country that's calling, you shouldn't throw any stones whatsoever. And yet no one picks up on it. And by the way, you said something earlier. That is emailed out. There is no possible way you could have about 12 different sources say the exact thing to the letter. Even like to the letter, the same sentence. No one is going to tell me that that is not an email that is sent out from the press corps to all of those sources, and they're just reading it. That's what's called gaslighting. That is exactly what that is. Gaslighting. Deflecting from the issues because they don't have any issues to talk about. That is their whole entire platform is nonsense. It's nonsense. If everyone just shut off the news and looked at the X's and O's, policy versus policy, outcome versus outcome, it's not even a discussion.
Here's the thing. And this is why I keep hammering. Like I'm getting tired of these people saying Kamala's really Donald Trump's got to be worried. The only way Donald Trump's losing is if they cheat. Kamala Harris can never, ever, ever straight up be elected president of the United States. In fact, Trump might win New Jersey if it was straight. But here's the thing. Because they have things rigged, and it's not just in America, okay? We saw it in France. Macron, he dissolved parliament. See, they might have actually had a legit election. And guess what? Marine Le Pen's party won a majority of the seats. And what does Macron do? That's just an example of raw power. But you think people are waking up? That's Venezuela.
Caracas. That's Caracas.
That's Caracas, Venezuela. If you left it, now we just got done talking about the media, Joe Resinello, here at the front line with Joe and Joe. I'm going to throw it over to you. If you leave it to CNN, everybody you just saw in that clip that called J.D. Vance weird, would say there's 3 people in the square there in Caracas. That's what they would say. And you know how we know that? I'll give you evidence of how we know that. Because for 50 years, okay, Christians, Catholics, people of goodwill marched in Washington every year in the cold in January to march from the mall down to the Supreme Court, okay, to protest Roe versus Wade. And the media, if they did pay attention to them, they would say, yeah, there's a few people every year. Hundreds of thousands of people. You know how else I know that? In 2010, it was in August of 2010, just before I met my wife, okay? Glenn Beck held a rally down at the what do you call it? The reflecting pool, in front of the reflecting pool, in front of the Lincoln Memorial. Okay, I was there, Joe. There was over 500,000 people there. The Parks Department, the Park Police said so. You know what the media said? There was about 70,000 people there, and that might even be a lie. They lie, and that's the thing that gets me more than anything else. Is that when they say something that's just, I see it with my own 2 eyes. Trust me, Joe, over the next week, because they're saying that Maduro did not win that election. Those people in that square are saying Maduro rigged that election. The media in America will say there was 3 people in that square. Nothing to see here, folks.
Well, this is the thing. Don't underestimate the power of that, though, because I have heard this. In the last election, they suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop story, and I heard a statistic that 12% of the people that voted for Joe Biden as a result wouldn't have.
Right.
So my point is, that is what they're doing right now on a scale that's never, ever, ever been done. They are trying to turn Kamala Harris, scrub the internet, rig all of the Google searches, and turn this woman, who, if you ask me, is as phony as it gets. Kamala Harris is a horrible liar, and she is as fake as the day is long. She could read a script and she could deliver a speech, but when she's asked a question impromptu, she does a horrible job. And if you can't see through the phoniness of that woman, I don't know what to tell you. I'll sell you a bridge, because I'll tell you what, if you're going to be a liar, be a good one. And she's a horrible liar. She's not likable. And that is why what you're about to see, if the media pulls this off, it's the most amazing feat in the history of America.
Well, here's what they're trying.
Fragility of the human mind. You know, that so everybody forever was like, Kamala Harris is the worst vice president. She's the least popular vice president of all time. And then in a moment in time, all of a sudden she's our solution. She's our hero. Everybody's with her. All these social media posts about her. Try Googling a negative story on her. You won't find one.
So,
ta-da!
Okay, you've got me started, Officer Harris. So, they've been doing this live for years. So, in 2019, our pal Tulsi absolutely nuked her in that second debate. And if you looked at charts at the time, she's kind of, Officer Harris is like doing okay. First debate, she comes out, Joe Biden, you're a racist. The Democrats were looking for an alternative to Bernie Sanders that wasn't Biden. She starts going up in the polls, right? Second debate comes out, Tulsi, being a good Hawaiian, knows how to roast the pig, just completely slams her. Not only that, she has no counterpunch. She goes on Anderson Cooper and she's like, well, I'm a top tier candidate, so of course people are going to take shots at me. That's her answer. She immediately starts going down in the polls. It's that day. You can see it on the chart I have on my Twitter. All the articles at the time that did an autopsy on Kamala Harris's failed campaign didn't mention Tulsi once.
Yeah.
It was BBC, LA Times, Reuters, New Yorker. A guy from the Washington Post just did a piece looking back on her campaign, didn't mention Tulsi either. They completely pretend it didn't happen.
Well, it just shows you that what they're looking for is not what they say they're looking for.
Yes.
Because she is a strong woman. She is a person who served overseas twice. She in a medical unit, so she got to see people blown up by the war. She was a congresswoman for 8 years.
Yeah.
She is a person of color. She's everything you want. All those things you want.
But
and you don't want her.
Because she's not for war.
Yes. Well, she's also just not willing to play ball. There's a game that's being played. And if you're like, hey, you're not supposed to fucking move the ball. Like, oh, look at this bitch over here. Like, get out of here. You're going to fuck up our game. It's not real democracy.
It's not real democracy.
He gets it. You see, I'm going to be honest with you. People have to hear that. He gets it. He gets it. That is my goal from this show. I'm not going to convince people who are going to vote for Joe Biden to vote for Donald Trump. But what I want to convince you of is what he just said, because it's right. If you're not playing ball, it doesn't matter. No one is getting in that seat if they don't play ball. And what it should tell you is this: your interests are not being served. Call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. And that should trouble you.
Joe, can I ask you a question about this Democrat Party? Okay, that really is not a Democrat Party. Now, I would have never voted. I was never a liberal Democrat. Could never have voted for a liberal Democrat, primarily because of abortion. But if they were, it goes to show you that we're not dealing with Democrats. You're dealing with Marxists. Marxists want everything, Joe. They want the whole ball wax. They not leaving a stone unturned. If they were smart as Democrats, their presidential nominee would be Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Their vice presidential nominee would be Tulsi Gabbard, and they would win. Straight up, legit. Now, they're not going to get abortion on demand up to the moment of birth, okay? At least with a Tulsi Gabbard, okay? They're not going to get foreign wars, okay? With Tulsi Gabbard. Again, that gentleman that was with Joe Rogan, I forgot his name. He said, with Kamala Harris, you're going to get all the wars you want. Okay, that's a big one. They're not going to get everything they want as Democrats, but they're going to get most of what they want, and that's not enough for them. That's not enough. Ron Klain, Barack Obama, somebody mentioned in the chat room this, Kamala is going to be Barack Obama's fourth term. We've been saying that since Obama's third term, which is Joe Biden, okay? They want everything. Everything. And another thing, too, you're not going to control an RFK Jr. You're not going to control a Tulsi Gabbard. Obama can't have that because he is, I hope everybody knows this rant, this is where I'm going. Obama is in control of the Democrat Party. He and Ron Klain and a couple of others are the ones who are in control. But he cannot control RFK and he can't control Tulsi Gabbard because they're independent thinkers. And right now, this group of criminals, because that's what they are, okay, Barack Obama and the rest of them, they're all effing criminals, all right? They can't have that. They want the whole ball of wax, and they'll do anything they can to make sure that Kamala or somebody like her, because I'm not convinced, Joe, I'm not convinced they're going to stick with her. But Kamala or somebody like her who's controllable will sit in that seat, and Obama will be controlling everything from behind the scenes.
Well, it's funny. Sid in the chat says she's the president right now and she will win. I'll tell you this, Sid, and this is no lie. People have to take her serious because the machine is behind her. They are. And the machine is powerful. This is not a legit game. If it was a legit game, she has no chance. But it's not a legit game. And that's why I'll be honest with you. And the more I've done this show, we've been doing this show since 2018, the more I've listened to a lot of independent voices, done research, basically turned away from the mainstream media. I've learned this. We as people have no power. It is a facade. It is a facade. I invite people to listen to Mike Lee. He gave an interview. He's a very decent man. He gave an interview with Tucker Carlson, and he breaks down how power works in Washington. He calls the power structure the firm. Hakeem Jeffries, Mike Johnson, Charles Schumer, and Mitch McConnell, the firm. They dictate. And then it goes to the uniparty and they vote. And all of those bills get put out. And this is something he said he vetoes constantly. 4 hours before the end of the day at the deadline, a day before. No one's reading them. These are your representatives. Listen to that interview and get an insight into how your government works. And then you have people who actually think that Donald Trump can fix this. He is just a Band-Aid. He's buying us time. Ultimately, if America does not get its act together, we are done. And I'm going to tell you this, when America fails, it is going to be like a tidal wave across the world because we're 1/3 of the world's economy. It's going to be like a tidal wave across the world. And we are running towards the end. the way that these ideas are being put forth and executing. They're executing right in front of your face. And then there's people, they're just eating it up. Why? Because the propagandists, which is the mainstream media, is spoon feeding it to you and you're buying it. And people still think it's real. They still think it's real. And it's, to be honest with you, nothing short of sad. It's nothing short of sad, Joe.
Real sad.
I have news for you. 85% of the country will get flushed down the toilet with one pull of the frigging toilet lever. 85% of the country. That's me. That's you. That's your neighbor. That's the person who's gay. That's the transvestite. That's the black guy. That's the conservative. Flush down the toilet when the dollar collapses. And we're running off the cliff with these policies.
Right.
And that is the truth. And if people don't start seeing that, I got news for you, my friend. Get used to eating grass, because that's exactly what you're going to get.
Grass will be a luxury, Joe. Grass will be a luxury. Here's a guy who gets it.
One of these ideas, you take the things I just told you about, reviving meritocracy in the United States of America. The idea that we, the people, create a government accountable to us, where every citizen's voice and vote counts equally, in settling questions from climate change to racial justice, to the revival of the rule of law, to that old-fashioned idea anymore of free speech, that you get to speak your mind openly as long as I get to in return. Those are not Republican ideas or Democratic ideas. Those are not black ideas or white ideas. They are American ideals that our founding fathers fought a revolution to secure. And the question for us right now is, do we believe those ideals still exist or don't we? I think that's the moment we live in. I think 2024 is the 1776 of our century. I believe we live in a 1776 moment right now. Now, what a special time that was to be alive. Our founding fathers did not view themselves as just oppressed victims by a British monarchy. They made the sacrifices required to secure the liberties that we enjoy today. There's 56 men who signed that Declaration of Independence. Jeff just gave me a book, the first essay in that book. I love the values of the center. It's primary source material, actually. Not a lot of editorializing. It's Thomas Jefferson's editorializing, but not ours about him. I just opened that book. We were just looking at it together. He signed the Declaration of Independence. The final words that he and 56 men signed it with said, "We pledge our lives, our treasure, and our sacred honor."
Now, here's the thing about Vivek. And I like him. His head's in the clouds. Those days are over, Vivek. And I'm going to give you two examples. Number one, accountability. A man's daughter gets raped by a boy in a locker room. He goes to the school board that withheld that information from him. He goes there. He yells at them, rightfully so. He's taken out. He's thrown out of the meeting. And Merrick Garland puts him on a terrorist watch list. So there's your accountability right there. It's on the local level, but nonetheless, there's your accountability. And the other is, now, there's people, okay, also along the lines of school boards. Teachers have gone up in front of school boards and say, what qualifies parents to say what their children should learn? Okay, again, elitism, no accountability whatsoever. There's another example. I'll give you one more example. Freedom of speech. Joe, ask any leftist if you have freedom of speech, okay? And the answer is no. The answer is, well, you have freedom of speech and there's a First Amendment, okay? But that doesn't include hate speech. That doesn't include if you identify a man as a man if he's born a man rather than the gender supposedly he wants to be. See, they pay lip service to it. Vivek's head's in the clouds. He doesn't understand. We're dealing with an enemy that has they don't have values. Joe, they value power, and that's about it. The rest of the people value everything that happens from their waist down, and that's what the people who value power give to them, so that they'll keep voting for the people who want the power. So the people the sheep will keep being sheep because they'll get their sex, drugs, and rock and roll. The powerful will have power over them, and they don't care. And in the meantime, those same people give all those powerful people even more power over people like us. Vivek needs to get his head out of the clouds. The Constitution is finished. The Constitution is what brought us to this point. So don't ask me to revere the Constitution, because I don't, because obviously there's something wrong with it.
Well, I think the Constitution is actually very good. It's sadly, we turned over power to oligarchs. And that's been going on for a very, very, very long time. Again, I'll cite the Mike Lee interview. He talked about something that happened in 1937 in a New Deal that basically made Congress impotent. This has been going on for decades, where slowly but surely we've turned over power to the few. The voice of the people no longer is concerned. They're not concerned. They're not even consulted. That's why people look at each other when something happens and say, that makes absolutely no sense. Well, it's not supposed to make sense to you because you don't matter. You see, and again, that's where he does get it. Now, in a sense, people just have to wake up to that reality, and we have to get our country back, and that requires solidarity. I'm going to tell you that right now. Part of their game plan is dividing people. Yes, we don't agree on everything, 100%. But I got news for you. If I sat down with a lot of people, I bet you we could agree on 7 out of 10 things. 7 out of 10.
I will say not with this current crop of leftists that control everything.
There is 10% on the right who's nuts. And there's 10% on the left that's nuts, Joe. I listen to people on the right too. They're crazy. Some of them are crazy.
No, I'm going to push back. This party is evil.
No, I know. I'm not saying that, Joe. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about people, not the party. I'm talking about normal people.
Those normal
like on your
people
street.
are voting for this, Joe. They'll
because
vote for
they
Kamala
are,
Harris.
Joe, because of the press. Talk to normal people. Like when I cut the lawn, like on a Saturday, my neighbors don't go to church. They're not they might be baptized. We don't agree on a lot of things, but we could agree on basic things like working hard. They work hard. They love their kids. They're not for a lot of this craziness. I'm talking about normal, functioning people. I'm not talking about the loud voices on the internet. And that's who I'm appealing to. That's who I am. We're going to disagree on some things. I get it. And to be honest with you, we'll like if we had an honest conversation, I mean, I live far outside the mainstream. I don't contracept, Joe. I mean, like I have 5 kids and I'm 54 years old and my youngest child is 2.
Right.
So, I mean, I am hardly in the mainstream, but I could communicate, I feel, to a lot of people who may not even stand with me on certain issues. But the outliers are who have the voice. It's the middle that has to come together and take the country back. Take the country back. Then, like Vivek said, we can have a dialogue. We can have a conversation. Let's vote. Let's let the system, the way it was designed, work. Some people say it is working as such. And those people, frankly, are not interested in justice. They're interested in power. They're interested in raw power. That's not what the Constitution is about. That's not what a just society is about. And frankly, that's not what I'm about.
Right.
God does not impose himself, and I'm not here to impose myself on others. I want to have a debate. I want the rule of law to stand equally for all people. Let's have a conversation. I'm not interested in the few dictating to the many, because that's exactly what's happening now.
Right.
People actually will disagree. Meanwhile, you look at what's passed. Do you realize the amount of money, your money, that has gone over to the Ukraine, that is fighting a proxy war? And it's being sold as you're helping the Ukraine. We, as in America, violated a treaty. Ukraine should have never, ever, ever been considered to be in NATO. And 500 million people are dead as a result of it. Guess who did that? And by the way, a duly elected president in 2014 was thrown out in a coup
by the CIA. By the CIA.
I don't want to, because then people think you're crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if what you said is correct, but the fact remains he was elected by the people and there was a coup and he was thrown out.
Okay,
Zelensky has suspended elections.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Zelensky has suspended the press.
But
Donald
Trump's a threat to democracy.
nation, and your hard-earned money is going over there.
Threat to democracy. Don't forget. And Donald Trump, Donald Trump called the press the enemy of the American people. He was right. He didn't do anything against them. He just basically said from his bully pulpit, the press is the enemy of the American people. But Sean Penn wants you to get on your knees and genuflect when you see Zelensky. Okay. But like you said, he suspended the press. He was installed because the duly elected president of Ukraine was removed. But Joe, we got to go. I want to leave everybody with a clip. Please, wherever you're watching the front line with Joe and Joe, please like this video, especially if you like what we do, whether it's Rumble, whether it's X, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Facebook. Share it, share it, share it, share it, share it. Okay. But here, Joe, how about this? Okay. And we're going to leave everybody with a clip. I want to play everybody the clip of Alex Jones again because he makes a lot of sense. But I'm going to throw one thing out to you for a final thought from you. We're not getting the whole thing. I'm not going to even pretend that we are. How about this for a start to get to the point that you just mentioned, to the level where you just mentioned, where you talk about debate and things like that? I hope Trump gets elected. So I hope the first thing he does is what he said. You have to abolish the Department of Education and break the stranglehold that the left and the teachers unions have on education. And then through executive power or however he has to do it, he's got to break up Google or threaten them with being broken up. He's got to threaten big tech. He's got to threaten them to break them up, Facebook, YouTube, all of them, okay? And he's got to do something to overturn Sullivan versus the New York Times so the media doesn't have protection. Do those two things, and I want your opinion. This is not the be-all and end-all, Joe. It's not going to solve our problems, but it'll at least get us to that level that you were just talking about, because until the Department of Education is abolished, until we have an actual free press and get the oligarchs out of places like Google that control the messaging, we're never even going to get to that step. Joe, I'm going to give you the final word.
Ultimately, Trump buys America time. He's going to give us judges. He can give us some good laws if he gets some type of supermajority, the House and the Senate, if he buys us time. Ultimately, though, there's far too many Americans who frankly are far from the truth. And I'm not saying that I am the truth. I'm not, but Jesus Christ is the truth. And when God is not the center, what is the center is raw power. And when raw power is the center, people mean nothing. That is absolutely accurate. Christianity civilized the world. Look at history and see what happened before Christianity. It was a bloodbath and a slaughter. And we have issued God out the door. And this is why America is a mess. And frankly, the most important thing that I'm doing right now is praying the novena that Cardinal Burke asked the world to pray. Are you praying it? I'm saying that to our listener who's Catholic. You should be. Do you take your family to church? That's a start. That's more important than your vote. When people start getting back to God, all the other pieces will fall into place. And you won't need Donald Trump. And I got news for you. If you get back with God and put God in your marriage, you put God at the center of your decisions, you'll have better politicians. You'll have a just society. You'll have the country back to where you want to live in it. You won't have cities that are a wreck. Basic things. That's how you do it. And that's why Donald Trump can't fix everything. Matter of fact, he could fix very little. He's a Band-Aid. That's the fix. And when America gets that straight, America is back. Until then, we're lost. And I got news for you. What's going to happen most probably is we're going to get knocked down very hard.
We're going to get
and it's going to take a few generations to get back. I pray that doesn't happen. But if I was to bet money, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Want to thank everybody for joining us here at the Frontline with Joe and Joe. Stick around for 2 minutes. I'm going to leave you with a clip. For those of you who came later, Alex Jones with Russell Brand makes all the sense in the world. Plus, he's entertaining as anything. So we want to leave you with that. But please, wherever you're seeing this show, if you like what Joe and I do, we go live Thursday nights, 9 o'clock Eastern time, all across social media. So please, on Rumble, X, Facebook, YouTube, like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. Remember, till the next time, that our conversation is your conversation, and that conversation is going on everywhere. We'll talk to you soon.
Ditch into that somehow, Alex. The ongoing accusation that not only you might be controlled opposition or I'm controlled opposition, that even a figure like Elon Musk, due to his various billion-dollar contracts through SpaceX or Tesla or whatever it is, can't truly be the renegade that many of us believe him to be.
He's devastating them every day with hundreds of millions of views with transgenderism and open borders and world government and carbon taxes and depopulation and replacement migration. And you can't argue with energy to energy. It's a mathematical equation. He's literally devastating them. And I'm supposed to sit back and go, I'm a Pharisee to Christ. You know what? You're not perfect. You're going to hell. I'm literally supposed to sit back and watch devastation of the enemy. Like they are shitting their pants and go, I could have done it better. Great, get on the field. Show us what you'll do. Stop bitching. Show me what you can do instead of claiming everything is controlled. You say, I'm with the devil? No. Those of you saying there is no hope, those of you saying Christ isn't real, those of you saying God didn't call us to victory, those of you saying that we're given a spirit of overcoming and victory, not of weakness. When the enemy comes like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord lifts up a standard against it. You are the Satanist. I love Jesus Christ. I want human victory throughout the stars. And any of you saying that I've served Satan are servants of Satan, and I rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ.